want to get into the weeds of our next match, though. ROC Esports currently sitting at the top of Group C, thanks to their clean 3-0 victory against Bingus and Sheer Cold, their opponents. They struggled a little bit more in their first game against Oh Yeah. They did win it out 3-2, though. So let's talk about ROC Esports. They're being coached by Kariv. It's a really interesting mix of former OWL players, Izayaki and
OWL champion.
The Koreans paired up. The Koreans paired up with 3 Saudi players. I didn't see that coming. That was not in my script.
Yeah, it's a lot of players like I know that play obviously outside of Checkmate and Izayaki that have been playing in contenders, the Saudi league, right? You mentioned coached by Kariv as well. So bringing a lot of firepower into this roster.
I think
Sheer Cold, though. That's a lot of well-known names within the contender scenes we're seeing here.
Yeah, we are talking about players who've been playing contenders since like 2021.
Forever, yeah.
Even sort of before that, like a few of these players like Raspberry Racers. Sheer Cold has been a fixture in contenders for a long time, like a genuinely very long time. So many of these players have been playing since the game first released. Like, make no mistake about that. We actually have like previous like console, like high-level console players as well on this roster coming in. So don't underestimate this team. If you're a contenders watcher, you know them. If you're not, you won't, but they have been around for quite some time. Expect them to have some impact here. They are going to face their toughest test so far, though, I think, up against this ROC Esports team, which, like we mentioned, features more than one Overwatch League champion.
Yeah, I mean, and Skytor did play for Belgium in Overwatch World Cup. So outside of just kind of contenders experience, some experience at the World Cup level, I believe this team's actually made up of like players really from like all over Europe. It's not kind of like Pepsi you'd look at like as like a French team, right? Like this is a team of players from everywhere.
Yeah,
I definitely think it's on ROC Esports though to step it up here. I think they're the ones with the target on their back. Obviously, having former champions in their team, they have to prove that they're an OWL for good reasons. Whereas contenders, they don't have as much pressure, as much weight on their shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, ROC Esports is like the number 3 overall seed in EMEA, right? So coming through like Swiss, like that's even placing higher than like a space station, right? So to give you an idea of kind of like where this team sits in like the hierarchy right now, at least early on in EMEA, although maybe some players that people aren't as familiar with, right? Like it looks like there's just a lot of really talented players coming out of Saudi Arabia. Now you add Checkmate and Izayaki to the mix, right? And hey, we got a top 3 team. We had a shot to win.
Yeah, and Kariv, obviously a really good coach as well, with so much experience as a former player himself, then turned coach. He's been around for actually ever. I just thought like when that team was announced, it was just a very strange mix-up. I did not see 2 Korean players getting matched up with some of the Saudi players.
Yeah, I mean, we know why, but I think it's I think what's so interesting about it is the completely different sort of worlds in terms of the competitive structures that these players have been sort of competing in, right? Coming together like this, there's always a question of to what degree does this team just lean on the raw firepower of these, OWL champions? How do you integrate to players like Checkmate and Izayaki in a way that, it's less about the individuals popping off and more about creating a team that's like more than the sum of their parts? Like that's what Kariv's job has to have been coming into this, and that's not easy. It's really very difficult to sort of create a mesh together of players that, from such diverse backgrounds.
You also just can't go very far, like if you're like, okay, we're gonna get like 2 all-star players and just kind of like ride them through, right? Like Overwatch is so team oriented that like that will only get you to a point, and it probably doesn't get you to the point that you finish like 3rd overall in Swiss, right? Like I would say like if they had the number like 8 overall seed, I'd probably be like a little bit more like skeptical of like, okay, like that's like you're just kind of pairing obviously GM level players with players, 2 like really strong players in terms of like Overwatch League that we saw in the past. But the ability to kind of like play beyond that tells you that like some of the other players on the team are also extremely talented.
Absolutely. Mitch, Sheer Cold, you pointed out there's some console players in there.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
who dat?
Let me just check the document that I was given to check that for you. Again, yeah. So like, Will, for example, I think was a console player. And looking further down the document that I was given in order to read this out, I think there was another one in there, but I can't see it because I don't want to read the words on.
I set this up as if like I'm starting a witch hunt here, as if it's a bad thing. I mean, out of curiosity.
Don't hate on people on the sticks.
No, there are tons of cases of this happening. Actually, people like they play console, really seek a console. They develop like this mad game sense from like competing on console, and then they translate over to playing PC relatively seamlessly because they have like such a good understanding of positioning, especially when it comes to the game, and the aim follows. Like people really rate aim very highly, but we're talking like a high time to kill game like Overwatch, where positioning and coordination are actually more important in almost every role. So this isn't like that rare a thing actually. So expect to see like, you know, someone like Will, you know.
I do find it impressive though. I mean, for me personally, my Switch Torp main account does not translate well into my PC experience.
You play Torb on the Switch.
Yes, because I'm playing on the Switch.
It shoots for you, right? I kind of see that.
Yeah, all I need to know is good turret placement, and I'm golden. And also, if you're playing on the Switch, you're actually pulled together with a PlayStation and Xbox people. So unless you want to have like forever queues, so you know, pick your battles. It is what it is.
I still don't understand why. Yeah, I've always been. I've always been a player on the sticks. Yeah, I was when Mitch was talking about those amazing console players that then switched over to PC. I'm surprised he didn't mention me.
No, because I was talking about game sense, for Christ's sake, and
I mean, yeah, even more
and coordination.
Yeah.
All things that Matt is known for.
Yep, I have 2 controllers here on my desk. I'm always on the console. I'm always flipping the sticks. You know, it's like just it's for some people it feels natural. It feels more natural than the keyboard and mouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one day you might make the big leagues too, Matt.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
one day
he's fast tracked. He's fast tracked. Make no mistake about it. I did like that we have an opportunity to talk more about Sheercold, because I'm pretty sure there's like 7 or 8 different nations represented on this particular team, including I think Condi being South African here. So this team's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. I think like some of their best results, you know, they had through contenders. They were able to make it like 3rd and 4th for a lot of contenders seasons. So a mainstay, very experienced. I expect this team not to look like a slouch in this matchup.
I don't think they're going to look like a slouch. I do think though ROC Esports is probably going to, you know, come out and make a statement with like, you know, how good Twisted Minds looked earlier, and then you know, obviously BSC in the last match, obviously getting clean wins. I expect them to come out and put the same type of performance on. Okay. I think that's kind of like what you're looking at here, and I think if you're like a fan of some of these players in the team, like that's what you want to see happen. Like them, you know, we've seen the 2 teams up ahead of them, right? Kind of keep pace with like 3-0s. You want to see them also kind of, you know, keep pace with that.
And let's not forget, Kareev, his coaching resume is quite impressive, right? Even before ROC, he was Florida's coach, Boston Uprising, and he also spent a lot of time on Twisted Minds coaching them back in contenders. So like, this guy, we might remember his play, right? Because it was sort of right in front of us and able to be there to see. Are you enjoying it, Zoe? What do you think about the gameplay so far? Yep. All right, thank you. All right, let's jump in.
little try-cast here.
See, lucky that's not me, because I would have been stuffing my face with some form of food. I would have been absolutely caught red-handed. Love to see that. Love to see that. Sheercold, though, great start here. TVNT obviously being the first player to fall there is pretty big. They punished that front line.
Yeah, you put a ton, I mean, just like the last series, right? You put a ton of pressure on the Ramatra. Everything else kind of falls apart after that. That's what happens in that first fight here. It's ROC Esports. They're now making their way over the bridge. TNT just trying to stay alive here. And Izzyaki looks like he's kind of weak. Yeah, he actually ends up getting taken out by Will.
Yeah, that's it. Your previous console champion Will turning up and putting the pressure on Izzyaki. This is what I was trying to say at the start of the game. Checkmate Izzyaki, obviously, his individual is very storied, right? But already we kind of see ROC not being able to play around TVNT as well. Izzyaki getting picked off there by the Tracer.
Yeah, it's, you know, Sheercold to really kind of control the game here on our first 2 fights. So Will with a pulse bomb. Look for him to put some pressure on Izzyaki yet again. He did a really nice job in both fights doing that.
47% and counting. Sheercold are the ones making the statement here early. Despite our expectations, Checkmate and Will happy to duel for the time being now as TVNT just inches his way on towards the point, but it's going to be forced in a Nemesis storm soon enough here. Wayward pulse bomb from Will, but Checkmate is right on target. Zodiel brought down. Checkmate able to find yet another one here, and that's an individual skill expression starting to display itself.
Yes, I mean, Checkmate, we know to be one of the, best tracers in the world, like, just kind of in terms of, like, a flexible DPS player, right? Can definitely play with the best. Izayaki, finishing some kills off, and then Rojo here, on the Sojourn, able to pick up some kills, too.
Chance here now for Sheer Cold to make use of some of these ultimates they built earlier on, but they don't have any distinct advantages in the apples to apples comparisons. Rojo now trying to wrap around, immediately going into the overclock. A little bit hard to see the wood for the trees here as sound barriers get thrown down. And he's caught right inside that annihilation. No result there for the Sojourn. Pretty telegraphed as he does go for the ultimate and is easily shut down by a sound barrier. ROC here starting to get more comfortable.
Yes, now that they win 2 fights in a row, right, you're going to get near potentially a tie game. As Checkmate with a pulse bomb, we'll see what he's able to do with it. As Sheer Cold, if you can kind of dodge this pulse bomb and then get a fight on the point with that annihilation advantage, no support ult on the other side for ROC Esports, that's probably your path.
It's been an easy one for Checkmate. They're asking for it. Fade there was an option, I guess, but Checkmate is able to find 2 very quickly. Zodiel, yeah, losing him there is pretty brutal. And here it is, that Tracer.
That's what you didn't want to happen.
What's that, sorry?
That's what you did not want to happen.
I mean,
again, it was like, yeah, they dodged the pulse flow and moved their way to the point. They have the annihilation, but they obviously did not.
See how the texture of this game changes so much now that ROC actually control the point. Checkmate is not playing this sort of very tentative, nipping at your heels flanking game. He is front and center here, making sure these pulse bombs aren't speculative. He ensures the confirm and the stick. Annihilation here for NKZ though, that's a big one. Yoham trying to push up now as well, sees TVNT on the side, Coalescence enough, at least to put some respect on him. Decently safe position now, and of course a healing Bardic Orb deployed now. NKZ goes for that Annihilation. I think they've cycled ultimates really well here. Sheer Cold, they're able to set like a pretty forward line of scrimmage now as TVNT would like to contest this. He'll be shoved off now, either commit or go home. That is the question for ROC.
Yeah, I think you go home. I think they actually should have just dropped even earlier, right? They kind of extend that fight a little bit longer, where I think you end up kind of just losing that fight earlier, and you give yourself a better chance here in this final one.
Overclock here for Rojo. Checkmate's always a threat, lurking now with another pulse bomb in tow. Yeah, safe spot for Rojo to be. Strebor gets caught out there, and Checkmate finds connect with the pulse bomb. That has to be enough here. Izayaki might have been taken down, but it might be a quick fight at this rate. There is nowhere for NKZ to go except back inside the dojo. And Rojo slides onto the point here to assist Checkmate. A little more flip will be here for ROC. No fade left for Yoham. Tracer recall instantly for Will, just gets a touch, but it won't be enough. First round, ROC Sports.
And it feels like once they got control of the point and kind of eased into the flow of the game, that's when they really started to kick off, right? I think maybe a little bit surprised at the start with Sheer Cold coming in and just getting the 2 fights back to back straight away, but after that, ROC able to get control and really solidify map point number 1.
The lion's share of that capture progress comes off a couple of fights that are just kind of won there and then by a huge pulse bomb, or Rojo finding a couple of key headshots with the rails. I think we want to keep watching sort of how they make use of TVNT, obviously getting caught early on at the start of the round. Will looked excellent on the Tracer here. We'll likely return to that after the Symmetra propels both teams forward now into control center.
Yeah, will we Sheer Cold end up playing the Baptiste with the Lucio here? So this also, I think, kind of tells you maybe they feel like they're having a difficult time keeping NKZ alive, right? And you need that immortality field to do so. But still, it feels like a pretty big concession, right?
In mobility, yes. And also, you don't have that Suzu, the cleanse to play with. Immortality field is something you do get back at the very least. But yeah, the Baptiste is so easy, so exploitable. It's easy to jump on him and remove him with that lack of horizontal mobility.
It also feels like, okay, we got the immortality field out, now we can go right after. It's a clear sign where You play like a Moira, you play a Kiriko, right? Like there's a little bit more flexibility there in what you can do.
Also, the frequency with which you build coalescences is something you have to account for. That was
Big
close.
shot there. Yeah.
AOI forced right on back here. Will's looking for a way in once more. Pressure immediately though in the direction of NKZ. Followed up by a Vortex here. So you see TVNT adamant that he wants to set the battle line right at the doorway. And so that capture percentage starts ticking up bit by bit. Here's a coalescence already online for Izzyaki. Not as fast as it could have been, but getting it early is big. And Matrix to deal with now though. Scary thing to stick around for, but the immortality field has already been picked off. So now your glass cannons, if you're sheer cold, and they get shattered.
Yeah, look at them just leave NKZ here alive for a period of time. They don't want to finish him straight away. Just to get a few extra seconds on the point now. Look at this, just like that first point, right? Checkmate, lurking here with a pulse bomb. He ended up winning one of those previous fights with one as almost gets the kill. Now has to back out.
No stick there, but again, immortality field has already been picked off at the start of the fight here. I think Checkmate must be calling the sheer cold of punching in towards this right side room. There's disruptor shot available here, Vortex. There's a lot to punish moving through a choke now from ROC Esports. And yep, there it is, Annihilation, also one of those that I didn't need to mention, I feel. Zydul can't get away. Tries to slide out of this Annihilation, but gets caught. And that'll be another fight for ROC Esports. And from here on out, I mean, you might have a very brief winner to make something happen, but with how far they're pushing, Matt, this is probably done.
Yeah, they just look so in sync, right? Checkmate calls are kind of wrapping around. TNT there right away with the Annihilation. No, AOI just gets the speed boost right on in. It's the recall! Though. That is kind of nasty.
What a flex.
Might not mean anything, but we'll see.
I mean, are you kidding me? It doesn't matter.
They look like they're going to win this fight, yeah.
What a statement you just made. Most recent Overwatch League champion gets stuck. I mean, Checkmate asked for that. He really asked for it. He burned his recall and he knew Will still had his. I don't know what he was going for.
I mean, he probably thought the game was over, that they were just kind of like, not essentially give up, right? But, you know, just kind of concede, like, all right, like, maybe we'll go get a touch. But, hey, you'll let somebody back in the game. We'll see. Maybe Shirko could make something out of it.
And you gotta have some degree of respect. Checkmate testing to see what he can get away with. Turns out, not a whole lot. Once again being pursued, this time by Lucio Strebor. What a stick! That's disgusting! That's 2 kills for Checkmate. Drops on top of him like a stork delivering a baby. If a baby was a H-bomb. And it's going to be very, very tough to come back from this one. Sheer cold. Experiencing the nuclear winter.
Just the combination of stuff that happened there, right? It's the Ravenous Vortex there from the Ramatra to just lock the player in place, and then Checkmate from the high ground just drops the pulse bomb. As he's trying to slide out of the Vortex, he slides into his Moira, and that allows the double kill there.
I mean, you called it. I think at the start of this game, I was a little bit surprised by what we saw from Sheer Cold at the start there of Lijiang Tower. Looking, they were in a decent position. They were playing to a lot of their win conditions, right? Insofar as pressuring the Ramatra down and getting the Tracer in a position to take down Moira, or at least force the fades before the fights can really begin. So good sides there from the Sheer Cold roster, who fought very hard to get here in a hard-fought 5-map series. But again, Overwatch does have a strong individual component to it. And Checkmate, despite a little bit of a slip up there towards the end of the map, was really, really hard to deal with most of the time.
I mean, he's been difficult for everybody across the globe at every level of play. Well, maybe not when he was playing Reinhardt, right? But like when he's on DPS, like he's been.
I mean, even
really,
that was extremely Chad Reinhardt play.
Yeah, it was the reinforced Reinhardt style of play, But when he's on DPS, I mean, look out. I mean, he has just been unbelievable, right? Tracer, Genji, really just kind of like anything. And I think you see they're doing a fantastic job of like playing, you know, with his Tracer, enabling him. And even it looks like now at least kind of what you see, right? Like calling to the rest of the team and like where they're coming from and then being able to set up big plays.
Yeah, and it was big. That last, obviously, the double pulse bomb kill. Yes, perhaps it's, you know, fortuitous that he gets the double kill, but the way he dropped down and secured that stick was massive. And he found a Sojourn play to do it as well. Checkmate thinks at a rate that a lot of people probably can't even imagine. Guy, very, very sharp there. Great start here for ROC Esports. First map under their wing, so to speak. And there might be a few more joining them right after that with the way things are going. So stick around. Much more from this Group C winners match after the break.
Victory is at hand. Ashes to ashes. Die, die, die.
Let's get you back out there. Maintaining connection.
I'm getting readings of a cosmic disturbance in these ruins. Moira, prioritize our people, not your cosmic experiments. That's an order.
Accept my gifts, and all will be yours. Your ally has descended into darkness.
Our group energy is interesting. Very interesting.
Check this out.
Methinks a Cupid I shall play. What are you looking at?
Keep moving forward.
Best of luck to you all.
Welcome back, everybody, to our winners match here in Group C of our OWCS Stage 1 qualifier. ROC Esports, slightly rocky start to Lijiang Tower, if I'm honest with you. Didn't really look like they'd be the dominant team, but very quickly they started to wrestle the game back under their control. And not in no small part due to the heroics of checkmate there on Lijiang Tower. They comfortably take away map 1. We've got Midtown and Hollywood Bands, which leaves, hey, you guessed it, Kings Row available for our second.
Yeah, I mean, what, Kings Row and Blizzard World left to be chosen from, and then I think at that point it's just personal preference. Interesting, we've seen a decent amount of Colosseo thus far. Today, typically we see teams move towards like either Esperance or New Queen Street, but that will be the third map in the set. Kings Row, pretty standard. I think ROC Esports got off to like a slow start, like with the first two fights, but then I think after that, even going into the second point, it was all going their way. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of keep that momentum going here into Kings Row.
Absolutely. Again, your winners match here in Group C. It is currently 0-1 favoring ROC Esports. Disregard the numbering there. Kings Row will be coming up next, and obviously this is a map we've seen play out a number of different times here, which really lends itself to the Ramatra comps that both of these teams have been happy to showcase. Sort of switch up, right? Less of the Moira, a little bit more of that Baptiste there on control center from sheer cold, but it was exploitable. Lack of mobility ended up getting him punished over and over again. Sheer cold this time, though, favoring the Lucio Kiriko as you'd expect on a map like this.
Yeah, so I think the Lucio Curia gives like the best just overall kind of a gain to a comp, right? Like there's just so many different ways you can play it. I also think the Kiriko puts out great damage, has awesome survivability, and then the rush with either Sojourn, Ramatra, right? It's just awesome in general. ROC, we'll see what they decide to do here. Is Rojo hovering the Cassidy. You could play the Cassidy here, right? And checkmate probably swaps off of this. Maybe you're just trying to like, get them moving and get an angle. Is looks like, nope, not gonna be able to find a pick. Tracer probably the pick here, yeah.
Tracer Cassidy then for ROC Esports. Regenerative Burst already has to be used there on the high ground. Poke seems to be favoring Sheer Cold here. Sojourn definitely helping to that extent. They still want to go for it though. My goodness, I don't think Sheer Cold are ready for that burst of speed forward as AOY sends his team on a collision course with the defenders. Key pick, NKZ getting taken down. That is disastrous for Sheer Cold.
Yes, we saw Cassidy played earlier in the day by Twisted Minds, right? And now you have Rojo picking up the role here for ROC Esports. Twisted Minds ended up playing it with a different type of tank selection, but they've ended up playing with the Zarya to kind of like bait out the dive. But you can definitely run this with the Ramattra, right? Into the Sigma if they're going to play the Ramattra.
Yeah, I think some parts of the map it gets harder, for sure. But again, allows you to play a little bit slower. Really allows you to emphasize the impact of that Cassidy pick. Again, it's still tough for like Will to, exploit that lack of mobility at times. He really has to respect Mag Grenade primarily.
Yeah, the pick on Aziaki was huge, right? Everybody was basically about half HP. They just kind of stalled out at the choke. But now that he's back, obviously more healing going to keep going in as we got a little Tracer Lucio 2v2 here on the side.
I mean, Shrivel loses that one. Unbelievable. AOY was basically in 1 versus 2 for a time there. Will eventually has to opt out of the fight, though, as the cart is still on the move. And we do see Sheer Cold invest a Kitsune rush to try and stem the bleed here. That allows them to find that kill on checkmate. Deadeye now coming out from Rojo and somehow finds Zodzio. I don't know how he gets that one. Annihilation here. Awkward for Rojo, so he just throws as much damage as he can at the problem, but sound barrier makes it impossible.
Are they going to go with the flux inside a close range here? So maybe they feel like they can still fight this in a way, as Suzu may have protected it from the accretion there. Well, they still have their tank up, right? So you're going to have checkmate back in the fight here. You're still going to get some progress.
Actuating the barrier.
Sheer Cold forced back, regardless of the numbers that fell out of that previous fight.
Yeah, AOI was able to live all throughout that with TNT.
Just drop the shot here. I really feel like Sheer Cold hoping to get back in position, but they don't want to switch off this Ramattra here. So obviously Sigma will excel at the poke. He will exceed Ramatra's capacity at poke.
Really low.
Yeah, I mean, tough to win that fight out. Checkmate's been nipping at his heels for most of the round so far. I don't like it. NKZ, I wouldn't be feeling too confident here at all. Yeah, eventually gets brought down. Sigma's just really hard to handle when it comes to a shield battle, unless you're willing to commit. Well, and you won't commit if you have less than 5 players. You're probably going to lose there.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing, right? They need to commit Sheer Cold because, like, the Sigma with the damage, the shield, the kinetic grasp, like, he's just going to be able to poke way longer than the Ramattra, right? The Ramattra, like, can't, like, if you go Nemesis form and just stand there, like, what are you really, doing? And the shield obviously does not last long enough. So when you lose a player, even if you're a player down, the best path to victory in a fight is probably to go forward. To just kind of stand there, you're just waiting to die. Looks like Will was trying to get up on the high.
Yeah, he missed it. He missed the blink. Jump. So frustrating, especially because he's lost his other DPS in the meantime, and Stribble gets slapped by Rojo. This is bad news, and it's getting worse, everybody. Izayaki able to make use of that air matrix to keep his backline hale and hearty, despite Will's best efforts. He'll eventually be brought down. And we're talking more than 4 minutes of time on the clock right now, and a Gravitic Flux to try to end the map with.
That's lots of time. TNT moving up into the spawn is not ideal here for Sheer Cold. That's going to be the flux is going to actually...
Yeah, that's bad. That's not ideal either, Matt, as you would say. And that'll do it. 3 minutes 42 to play here for ROC Esports. And that's a drubbing of Sheer Cold.
Yeah, that was a steamrolling right there. We'll see those Sheer Cold maybe bounce back on offense. I think at this point you're just like, okay, we just need to finish the map, right? Not even worry about like time or anything. Just like get the map done by any means necessary, because 3:42 is a time that not a lot of people are going to be able to beat or even contend with.
And bear in mind as well, ROC Esports are playing that Sigma comp, which is one that normally is a bit more attrition focused. Those poke comps are not really going to run at you unless they find like a clean, easy pick in so many of these fights. To have so much time left on the map here, despite that, is quite impressive. It also speaks, I think, just to how much trouble NKZ had playing the Ramattra against the Sigma. Ramattra is generally very good. He's always been a bit of a jack of all trades in terms of the paradigms of tank play, right? Poke, dive, rush. But against a Sigma who is all poke all the time, we're not going to win out. You need to find other ways to eke out advantages when you're going up against a more specialized tank in a Sigma and you're on a generalist like Ramatra.
Yeah, and I mean, is the answer to just like mirror the Sigma, but then what do you kind of like play around it, right? It feels like mirroring the Sigma and playing Bat Lucio is like you're playing into exactly what I know ROC Esports wants. We just see the lineup like a conk into a Widow shot. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, everyone backed away already. Zodiel will be switching too, so it will be Sigma comps, mirrors for both these sides.
So the Sojourn, you should be able to farm a lot of like charge off of the shields, right?
Absolutely.
Like that would be kind of the benefit of having the Sojourn in play.
I think like the defensive Cassidy can find value. It really depends where Rojo's playing from, I think. NKZ now is going to want to try and tease some people down to the point here. This might be a free tick already. With how busy ROC Esports are at sort of staving off this high ground push. You see Checkmate is already less than half HP. Just the Hypersphere bounce damage is putting heal pressure down. In case he'd be forced away, now he'll probably elect to take the high ground. So you get what you came for with this little do-si-do, this little maneuver. Now ROC have to play from the low. And Zodiel is in a pretty nasty spot here. Someone might have to clear this immediately.
Yeah, I mean, getting up on the high ground here about top, that's going to be the hinder. It's going to do a little bit of damage, but just VCO, I'm able to get some healing. That's a huge pick.
I mean, if you let him stay here, that will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just go there. You have Tracer. She doesn't just climb walls, right? And you also have a couple players, I think, from Sheer Cold that are playing on Zodiel's left. Yeah, they completely outmaneuver them. But this is something that happens all the time on King's Row. If you are playing a Sigma comp that wants to reposition and keep you at arm's length, then you're not going to be very good at like trying to shut down this outmaneuver plate. You have to just go to your prescribed location and hope to find some picks, which we get eventually.
Yes, looks like we're not going to have a... Oh, well, maybe. It looks like AY and TNT going to come on in.
Oh, that's huge. That's so big.
Here. You have sound barrier as well, if need be, but it looks like you actually... I mean, that is one where it looked like Sheer Cold is going to be able to take it. Will actually gets the kill there. This will be a Flux on the other side, answered by a sound barrier.
Yeah, nice barrier as well. A Deadeye coming back in here for Rojo. Might be an opportunity to get good value out of this one. TVNT also building that Gravitic Flux now. Barrier into the Deadeye. Very low goes Streboy. He's able to get away though. Rojo just throws out that mag grenade in case someone's trying to come through the hotel, and a pick on wheel is good, but it's not enough. Not even close. Eventually, Sheer Cold breakthrough point 8.
Yeah, they almost, I don't know if you saw, like, with the Deadeye up, AOI actually ends up getting a boost of, boot of players, like, from around the phone booth, and almost knocks them into the line of sight, but I think the sound barrier is able to keep them all up, but Sheer Cold able to get the payload moving. You have this overclock here for Exodial use here in the second point. The hard part here is going to be TNT with the Flux and no sound barrier on the other side.
Not much to combo with it though. Not often required, especially if you have a Sojourn or a Cassidy that's pre-switched on here. Rojo taking a little bit of poke damage. This is Izzyaki now. Kinetic Grasp here buys a fair bit of time for TVNT. Here's the Flux. It's a big one. And already one for Rojo. Enough damage done so that Strebor and Exodial get crushed when they hit the ground.
And now you can play this forward choke, right? If you're ROC Esports, you just want to bleed time off the clock. Just play this choke. Maybe you can kind of have some players try and go control high ground here. It looks like we're just kind of like hanging out, discussing what we're going to do. You got an Amp Matrix here to work with too.
The high ground first, give you a little bit of a perch. This will also ward anyone away.
Maybe they'll try and bait the wrap.
Well, yeah, trying to see. I mean, with a Sigma comp, you're not wrapping. Either way, they get it done the old-fashioned way. Exodial pummels Izzyaki now. Amp Matrix may not even have been needed. Yoham under pressure though. Mortality Field has to be deployed here. TVNT able to hang on, but yeah, that first pick really sets the tone for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, especially because Izzyaki had the Amp Matrix, right? You get him out of the fight early on. Let's see, imagine ROC Esports will get another fight here coming up next, so we'll see if they're able to get back contest. But really nice shot from Sheer Cold. They kind of like baited that. Exodio comes around the corner, hits a railgun shot on Izzyaki, takes him out, and that pretty much secures the fight.
Finally, a fight where Checkmate has really natural flank routes. as opposed to playing through these sort of long streets and getting caught by hyperspheres. Oh my goodness, checkmate! Absolutely smashed. Exodio catches him in midair there, but the Deadeye on the airborne Cassidy will claim the trade. Immortality Field now down for Izayaki. Amp Matrix, though, is doing a lot of heavy lifting. And Rojo breaks another Sigma Shield.
He gets lifted up by the Flux, and that puts him in line of sight of Exodio. And the Deadeye actually takes him out. That is a kind of a rough one, especially after Exodio gets checkmate right at the start. You figure that is a big enough advantage getting that Tracer out of the way.
I mean, that's the risk, though. You're lifting the Cassidy above the line of sight of your shield that you may or may not have placed on the ground before you go for that Flux. That's dangerous. You are giving artificial high ground to a hit-scan hero with an insta-kill ultimate that only requires line of sight. Scary stuff. Checkmate smashed again. He's having a quiet one this map, Matt. Quiet indeed.
Yeah, I think after the first half, I mean, just kind of like, this second half, he's been caught out a few times, but ROC has been able to battle back even with that player down. That's going to be, looks like the support ends, the Sojourner and Baptiste stuck in that. You're going to sound barrier out of it. Sound barrier late here for AOI, though.
Little too late, I think, with Aniziaki's healing. This is going to be short-lived. Strebor. Maybe not even the target. The checkmate would be prioritizing at this point. Yeah, you wasted that beat. That's unfortunate, but plenty of time board here. Sheer Cold, we've got to finish the map now with just 2 minutes to play.
And look, they're kind of accomplishing what I was like talking about. Like, they just needed a map completion. They're obviously getting close. Will trying to just figure out where checkmate is and just prevent him from coming back just easily, right? Like, you feel like maybe you just kind of like pepper checkmate, keep him out of the fight. That's enough to win it on the other side of things. So Will's gotta be careful, though.
Trading pretty evenly in length here. Will has natural sort of health packs pretty close by as well on his defensive half of the map. Eventually, though, he'll have to turn his attention to the matter at hand. That is the cart inching closer to the golden box of victory. High ground denied. AOI with a beautiful boop, I think, knocking Sheer Cold back off that platform. But the defenders still aren't in very powerful positions. Very long range, again, with a lot of that sort of reduction in damage was an issue for the Cassidy, so Rojo's has to switch to the Sojourn here. And Checkmate's dead again. He still has a pulse bomb from 3 minutes ago. Has not been able to deploy it whatsoever. Trade of kills, though. NKZ going down is the more impactful frag, the more important one, and the defenders can stabilize behind it.
Yeah, I saw right there. TNT in a row are really going to bail them out. Like, checkmate, I think 3 fights in a row now, the first player to fall, and the team's still able to hold pretty strong, even all things considering, is TNT is going to get a Gravitic Flux here. No sound barrier on the other side, so maybe you can force out that Immortality Field first and then go with the Flux.
So they disrupt the shot on the high ground. It was not enough to force ROC Esports off that very coveted vantage point. We'll see that, Will was able to sit up there, wants to pressure Izayaki away. Pulse Bomb does not connect, and Izayaki has the time to take a breather. Next checkmate will have his Pulse Bomb that he's been hatching like a bloody century egg. And he'll be looking to make use of it in a moment now. Gravitic Flux catches no one, though. That's a bit hasty from TVNT. Checkmate still considering this one. And there's a sound barrier here for AOI. There's a window to make use of it before Strebor can build his up, and it's very small now. It may not matter in the end. NKZ, the priority target, again gets served up, dished out, and ripped to shreds.
Yeah, and AOI just consistently, those sound barriers able to be dropped right after the ones from Sheer Cold. And that gives that extra survivability, even though if they did not need it for ROC Esports to get over the line, as that is a really strong performance. I mean, what was that time bank? It was like close to 4 minutes they were able to do ROC Esports on their offense and then hold strong on D. They've looked really good.
Yeah, and again, at the start of this map, you're in a Sigma mirror. When you get out positioned by the attackers, you have no choice sometimes. If you don't find a pick while the attackers are rotating, you have to drop down to the low ground. You have to take a disadvantaged fight. You have to try and find a way to manufacture an advantage. I've got to give it to Sheer Cold. They understood the flow chart of that engagement. Make sure your Sojourner's up on that high ground and make sure she's impossible to to flank, to hit from the side. So thumbs up. Sheer Cold's protocols look really good. However, the difference in attacking speed is a big difference maker, and your ROC Esports seem to be really well drilled in that regard. A little flashy even, and they definitely take away a very well-earned W in that second map.
I mean, look, you were able to get a few picks on the checkpoint early, right? You're able to take advantage of some of those, but if you're going to get there, star player Tracer off the field, right away, you're gonna be able to win those fights consistently, regardless of what else happens. Where I know Will was able to kind of track him pretty well, and then I think Exodia really the one who was able to pick him off a few times is the Sojourn.
Yeah, Will looking like a really very powerful Tracer, and credit to him for maintaining such a degree of confidence here, going toe-to-toe with Checkmate and prevailing on multiple occasions here. Let's not forget the pulse bomb that he stuck the guy with on the first map. I think he made himself pretty clear about how he felt about that matchup in that moment. Nice to see him really put this pressure down. And again, Sheer Cold can hang. I don't think they quite have the X factor though to create the kind of leads that we are seeing from ROC Esports right now. And Matt, that just leaves us with Colosseo.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe this one's a little bit closer because both teams play the Sojourn with the Tracer, right? Maybe you're able to catch, Checkmate, off to the side, but also Rojo has looked really good on the Sojourn, able to land shots at range. Also, we've seen some Cassidy, so potentially this could be a little bit of a closer one.
Yeah, I think we saw earlier on as well on the day, teams opting away from the Cassidy. I think that the damage fall off at longer ranges is actually quite relevant. Yeah, you have to play the Sojourn. In days past, we saw teams playing a lot of even Hanzo on this particular map, just because you really need to be able to, again, manufacture with some degree of consistency a free kill to start to move that push bot forward. But ROC Esports looking like they're primed to take that, direct slot into the main event here. Sheer Cold can hang to some degree, but eventually it looks like their nerve breaks. And ROC Esports have those years of experience behind them, not only on the field, but also in the coaching staff. Even if Kareev leaves the map halfway through, he can trust his team.
He's like, we're fine. Yeah, no, I mean, it is, it's just going to be difficult, I think, for Sheer Cold to kind of like win in this type of scenario, right? With how good, ROC has been at range. They can play the Sigma again here. Like, the Sigma is a little bit interesting in terms of like trying to play that on this map. Like, it's not one that we see a lot of teams go for, whether it's like kind of like Doom, Ramatra, like those are kind of like the ones you would.
But it beats Ramatra in many senses, right? Perhaps that's part of the reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, right? See both teams come out with a mirror matchup here, as right now it's going to be about. Well, so see, they don't want to put the shield out right away because that allows their Sojourn on the other side to just get free charge, right? So you want to like poke without the shield. Also try and track like the Sojourn energy on the other side to make sure you don't like poke without your shield and just get killed.
The shields only go up when the Sojourn is glowing blue. That is basically the protocols for both tanks here. Because obviously she's not building any charge when she has full charge.
Like Rojo here with a shot, right? Like, can you just find anybody? It's kind of what both teams are playing for.
Yeah, that is the whole idea. Unless your Tracers manufacture something for free, but getting rid of Iziaki, that's nice. Sheer Cold, beautiful opening here. That's the immobility of Baptiste getting punished.
Exodia a few times, it feels like, has been able to open things up with the first blood, even though King's Row didn't really play out well for Sheer Cold. Is still able to find a few players with some nice Sojourn shots.
Building some pretty comfortable momentum here to start the game off. And there's another one. This time it's AOY getting taken down. If it's not one support, it's the other. That's big. We talk about this, right? Teams wait to generate these picks and then lean into their opponents in short-handed situations. When you can deliver those picks with such consistency, even mind you, playing from the freaking low ground here, that's a big deal. Sheer Cold, have really earned this early lead. Can they convert it into an early checkpoint to boot?
I mean, that would be massive. We just saw, I mean, in the last series, what just getting that first checkpoint does in terms of push as a game mode. It's not look like they're going to be able to do so as the rest of ROC Esports kind of push on in, stop that from getting close to happening. I mean, that would be just really bad for ROC if you get all that first checkpoint straight away. They get control of the bot, they'll move it now to advance it past the halfway point of the map. And I think this next fight, Mitch, will be like the first, like, quote unquote, like real serious fight we're gonna see, right? Is just about everybody across the board is gonna have ultimates. Like, this fight could kind of like dictate in terms of like the investment, how we see the rest of the map play out.
Potentially Amp Matrix overclock combinations here, punishing poor positioning. But if Checkmate finds an easy pick here, he will equalize the map for his team. Getting that kind of pressure on the high ground. I mean, those are the things you can't count on, but it would be massive here. Good pressure on Exodial. He's trying to get away there, but he can't. Izayaki going to bring him down. And the finish is there. Yoham also removed. And hey, you spend your support ultimates and that's it. I call that a win for ROC Esports. This should get them within striking distance of Sheer Cold's total.
Just the tracking from Checkmate is just crazy there. I mean, it'll just feel like insta-killed 2 players. The one thing though is that ROC Esports end up they use both support ults there, so no double support ult on the side for Sheer Cold could be huge in terms of them even preventing ROC from taking the lead.
Awful close now. Overclock still in the hands of Exodial. Say the same for Rojo though, when he's found Will again. Will is compromised early in the fight. Last time it was Checkmate.
Oh, this is everything here.
They are throwing it. Kitchen sink, haymaker, whatever. AOI getting brought down, but it's going to be a question of whether that's enough. Checkmate gets caught though. 2-for-2 trade in this fight. Crucially, it's ROC with the Baptiste still alive, and they have a Sojourner to boot. You've got to be feeling good about having your tank and support still standing, and will eventually gets brought down as well. This will put ROC Esports into the lead.
That is a real difficult one because you end up using so many of your ultimates there for Sheer Cold. Like you're kind of like all in on that one, and then it just does not pan out in your favor whatsoever. And now you've given up a lead, right? ROC Esports, they're gonna end up getting their amp matrix here a little bit earlier, probably gonna get towards that sound barrier, and then next thing you know, you're kind of like approaching the end of the map.
Colosseo does have a tendency to get out of control in that regard. Pulse bomb for Checkmate. Obviously the only really interesting thing in terms of ults up right now. Maybe that amp matrix here, but it's a tough angle to get used to that. Immortality Field's down. They might be able to go here. Yoham being forced to use that a little bit earlier. And that's the pulse finish. Checkmate was waiting for that key ability, which may as well be an ultimate to be down. Beautiful accretion there. Strebble getting taken to geology class.
I mean, and now you're just like really just bullying them back into the spawn. Is Will trying to make it back to his support, doesn't do so as TNT pushes on forward with the rest of the team. This spot is just making it around that corner, so still a really far stretch to go here. But man, with the way ROC is playing, it's going to be difficult for Sheer Cold to get back into it.
Now, what's the play here? You have to tease out Izayaki's immortality field, if you will, somehow, without getting your head blown off by Rojo. Gravitic Flux might get the job done in that regard. Holding it, making sure the Baptiste is in there. Izayaki, never had a chance to use it through the ground. He got value from it and then got taken down. Perhaps you hold the pulse here. Don't need to make use of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, maybe if people were a little bit healthier, you could have sound barriered there and like use your own flux and taken them out of it if you were ROC. But you get that nice gravitic flux just on Izayaki. Nice job there from NKZ to like dodge the accretion up in the sky, and then you just take out that Baptiste. ROC decides to just give up after that.
Almost 100 meters total here for ROC. Let's not forget the way this game started. Some massive picks manufactured by Sheer Cold. Put them, on that low ground, approaching the bridge. Just had to win one more fight to get there, and all of a sudden the momentum solidly has swung against them. They spent so many ultimates on a losing fight prior. That's what ultimately caused them to give up the checkpoint. We're back to that point again. Big ultimates for both teams. Exodial really hoping to find an opening with this overclock, but not in the best position to make use of it. And oh my goodness, he's about to get fluxed. Sound barrier has to be used there by Strebor. AOI gleefully holds onto his for a rainy day. That accretion not connecting. The pressure is too much for NKZ. Eventually, he'll crumble.
Oh, and Yoham actually ends up using that amp matrix up on the high ground. I think they thought that they could actually help NKZ live through that, from the backside there. Because they do use the sound barrier, so maybe they feel like they have to kind of go all in on that. Exodial takes out AOI on the backside. But, man, now you had that... it's the amp matrix up on the high ground, right? And you're kind of like trying to maybe see if you can keep NKZ up, but you would love to have that for this next fight, right? Where you have the high ground and they're pushing into you to just get an easy fight win to move them on back.
When was your last best chance for the next 80 or so seconds for Sheer Cold? Which will take us almost to the end of this game. ROC Esports don't want to have to spend too heavily here to win. I know their opponents are not toting any ultimates, but they have some really good fallback options in case players randomly get picked off and they need to re-establish control and dominance in these engagements.
This is like worst probably scenario for Sheer Cold though, right? no ultimates, bot mid-map, down by, 40 plus meters. Like, where ROC can just sit here. Like, there's no incentive for them to really push, right? They can just kind of sit here, just play this trading game if they want.
This is where the real fight happens, right? This part of the map. This is where Sheercold needed trying to find a way to put some flank pressure down. NKZ close to a flux here. I wonder if he just pop it immediately. No, at least waiting for Exodial to be in position. You have to do something to try and, force some of these ultimates out. Rojo in a great spot. Immortality Field gets the job done. NKZ commits there with an accretion, but the healing from the regenerative burst is enough. Izayaki able to keep his team standing. And Sheercold will pay the price for their impudence. Herded into this left side room. One by one taken down now. 90 seconds left.
So I like the idea there from Sheercold. They use that gravitic flux. They push in with that Sojourn on the opposite side. The issue is Izayaki throws an Immortality Field across, so saves those people, right? But then not only that is he drops an Amp Matrix down. So now they're pushing in to try and finish off some of these kills that they got with the flux, but they have Amp Matrix damage coming on the backside, so they just kind of get caught, especially when it was Rojo using that overclock there.
Focus on Yoham here. It's about the Baptiste, and it's about forcing that Immortality Field out of him. Gravitic Flux now, they get it. Okay, Yoham able to touch down as well before he is removed, so able to shrug off the Gravitic Flux for all intents and purposes. NKZ though, well, I wish he would have had that drone around still. Big stick from Will, but it's an Immortality Field that answers it again. Not enough time for Sheercold to force that ability out. They'd already done exactly that to Yoham. And again, win conditions being met left, right, and center here for ROC Esports. And we're over 115 meters and counting.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're looking for a map completion. Like they are getting this very close to that box of victory. And even then, I mean, this run back from Sheercold would have to be like legendary for it to happen.
And Matrix here. Maybe to try and finish the job. 10 seconds remaining in regulation. Strebel caught inside the disrupt. The shot has to go for a beat. Not the timing you would have liked, but it's all about trying to stay alive and keep your head above the surging tides right now. And Sheercold are struggling. Rojo able to easily get away from that flux. It was TVNT caught out though. There's a chance for Sheercold to at least take possession of the bot in overtime.
Yeah, I was like maybe they were gonna be able to like back out of that there. But not able to do so. I thought once they like got the sound barrier out early from Sheercold that ROC was going to back up, play a little bit slow. It's checkmate, just trying to find a cheeky kill here. Mid-map, going to have to back up. I mean, you're going to need, what, 3 or 4 fights here for Sheercold, right? You would think?
Yes. I'd say more on the higher side. Depends how much free push they get. They can't afford to go after checkmate, I don't think. They probably need Will here to look for a backliner instead. Again, the dynamic of forcing the Baptiste drone out permeates every aspect of this game. There's the Amp Matrix at least drawn out for Yoham. Again, you buy some space, but checkmate eventually gets rid of Will. That's devastating. Now what is it? Exodial to really deal most of your damage here. NKZ already forced into some defensive cooldowns here. I think there's still a drone up for Yoham. Has to be used there though. Gets brought down by Checkmate's pulse bomb, which didn't even stick in the first place. NKZ is done. Everyone is fluxed off of the bot. And ROC Esports take a comfortable 3-0 victory.
Yes, I mean, look, they're the number 3 overall seed in EMEA. They definitely looked like it here today, right? They come in, some moments there from Sheercold, but really considering how far the push was there on Colosseo and then how dominant they were on King's Row, pretty strong statement from ROC Esports.
Yeah, but I mean, as you said, there were signs of life from Sheercold, Lee Jung especially. It was just once ROC Esports started to stabilize, it was all downhill from there. And at the very last map here on Colosseo, I feel like there were some overcommitments on Sheercold's part as well in certain fights. Some abilities I wish they would have gotten back for the following ones. But, let's take a look at the highlights once more and point out some of the players that we got to see. Obviously, Checkmate. He got to do Checkmate things. Seeing him on Tracer is always an absolute joy. It's got to be so hard to go up against players like that.
I mean, this play right here, I mean, that was kind of like, one of the ones that really turned the tide in map number 1, being able to get that stick, then get the finish off on a Yoham. and then push on through with the rest of the team. This was a wild scenario. Will just coming up with a huge pulse bomb. I thought Will had a pretty good game. I thought Exonial was really good for sheer Colt. He was constantly on the Sojourn, able to pick up some kills.
Yeah, I think that like this metagame as well puts it can make DPS players look very good. I think at times, especially when you're playing some of the Sojourn Tracer setups, it could also like put a lot of pressure on tanks. Which is, you know, been the story, I guess, of many different metagames here. But it's always such a question of how do I pick a tank that can both put pressure on, but also, you know, stay alive and take some space here. And that's just a problem that NKZ had. He was struggling to take enough space. And again, the Ramatra isn't great at doing that against the Sigma, especially if that comp is moving slowly. And they have a Cassidy as well, who's like basically operating at his optimal ranges. And then this play was really big, getting that immortality field forced out there. Checkmate able to flank really deep so much on this map because he can trust the rest of his team to be able to, you know, play 4v5 for a while and not lose any players, not get anybody picked off. They played really safe, really effectively, especially through this part of the map, right, where you do need to break line of sight very frequently. And you've got to be really cognizant not to give the enemy Sojourn free railgun charge off your shield. So the Sigma's constantly like pulling and pushing their shields to make sure that, okay, if she has rail, put it up. If she doesn't have rail, put it down. Don't give her all this free charge. Force her to actually do damage. Force her to get hits to charge that up and actually play the game properly.